I thought I was going to die. And I thought that I knew that my life would never be the same again. And I was really scared. Dancing is something that I've been interested in since I've been so young. So my biggest inspiration and motivator was my grandmother. So when I was first born, my parents took me back to China where my grandparents were, and they raised me until I was 4 years old. And during that time, my grandma would take me to Chinese operas. She'd always like sing karaoke with me. She'd always make little costumes, and we'd always be like a little bit of a duo act together. And we'd always, really, she'd just let me be me. My family, so my parents, when they came over to England, they had nothing. You know, they met here in England, but the two families have come from literal poverty. And so my parents saw that I really enjoyed something, and they didn't want me to just be focused on something that made me miserable or that didn't give me happiness. And obviously, because I was training so much, I was getting good at what I was doing, and I was taking it a lot more seriously, to the point where, you know, even, I think it was on the day of my German GCSE, I missed it to go to a dance college audition, and I was the youngest auditionee to enter my dance college. So I was only 15 at the time. Growing up, I had a lot of racial bullying, and growing up in a very small town where my family was the only Chinese family, it was so hard for me to kind of talk out about it, that for me dancing was my escape. It was my little bubble. It was my little world. No one could tell me, you know, like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. It was just me letting out my emotions that I couldn't say. When work isn't work, it's just such an amazing gift, like, to be able to have that. Yeah, I'd say this trip was probably the first real international trip, because I'd done gigs in Europe, and I'd done like little gigs here and there, but nothing that was, you know, like America or really far away from England. So this was, a really big deal for me. The routine I was quite confident in. I was excited to perform because I'd done it so many times, and it meant that I think when you know a routine, you can enjoy the routine rather than worry about getting the routine right. So I think running up to going, I was so ready and prepared. I was just more, I'm ready to enjoy the experience. I was anxious because obviously it was far, and I was nervous, I was excited. I was just really excited. I just remember being really excited. I remember being really, really, really excited, and just thinking, wow, this is my life. Every time I perform, it's like I'm in my own little world. And every time I perform, I give literally 1,000% of my energy, of my emotion, and of like my heart. I really perform with a lot of heart, because I feel I want the audience to really connect with what I'm trying to show. And so to me, it does mean a lot more than just a job. It does mean a lot more than just going and doing a quick little performance here, there, everywhere. It's a reflection of everything I've worked hard for, and everyone I've had to prove wrong. I was really, really nervous this day. I just remember having lots of anxiety, and I don't know why, I actually genuinely had a gut feeling that just something wasn't right, and I don't know why. Like, I feel like just something just didn't sit right with me that day. I remember listening to the music over and over again, over and over and over and over and over again. I was checking my equipment, I was making sure my costume was ready, I was making sure I looked ready, I was making sure that everything was checked, everything was fine. And yeah, I think I just was really kind of over preparing, if anything. Running up to this day, there's like months in advance of planning. And obviously it's a lot of pressure, you know, it's not just do your performance and then go home. It was do your performance and then, because you've flown so many miles to perform. And it was such a huge opportunity for me. And it's something that, you know, I'd worked so hard for. So I think I put that pressure on myself to do really well. Quite a few hundred people there. I remember it was a huge, it's like a huge banqueting hall, like huge. It was full of tables, so it was a really lively atmosphere. So obviously, at that point, you really want to just keep the crowd momentum going. You want to make sure that you put in a good performance for everyone to see. I got to the venue for about 4 p.m. I was just literally pacing up and down in the dressing room, getting ready, doing my thing, up until I was called to, you know, the side of stage. And I just remember being like, oh my God, this is it. I can't believe it's all amounted to these 3 minutes on stage, all this prep, all this checking, all this focus has really, you know, gone into this moment, and it's here finally after months. So I was really just excited to go through it. So I went on stage, I did my performance, and it was a fire performance. So it was fire dancing, and the end finale bit was a big fire brief. So it was coming up to it, and everything was going amazing, really good. I was really happy with the audience reaction, and I put the paraffin in my mouth as I was ready to blow the paraffin out to the fire stick so that it creates the fire breathe. And I remember blowing the fire, and I'd done this performance hundreds of times before, and I don't know why, but like when I blew the fire, I closed my eyes and I peeked. I don't know why. Usually I have like sunglasses on and I'm just like doing my thing, and I don't know why I just opened my eyes sooner than I would have. And all I could see was just this huge ball of fire coming towards me. I was already on fire at that point. I was up in flames. And I didn't want to panic because I didn't want to panic the audience. So I tried to remain as professional as I could to be in control of the situation. Even though everything was out of my control, I tried so hard to remain calm and in control of what was going on. So the fire's burning, I could smell the smoke coming from like my costume, bits of my hair, my skin, and as it was burning, there was paraffin residue on my hands. So I was patting myself down, and that's when obviously help came onto the stage. And I think I'd been on fire for a good 30 to 40 seconds, which in everyday life is a blink of an eye. But when you're on fire, it is the most traumatic and the most hectic moments to live through. And all I could hear was like so many gasps, so many like people being like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, oh my God. And a few people screaming. And I was like, oh, this is not good. This is really not good. Someone picked me up and lifted me downstairs because I was sat at the side of the stage at this point. And then someone put a bag, so they wrapped ice in this towel and put it on my face. So it was freezing cold. So this really hot burn, all of a sudden freezing, like freezer burn. And I just remember them going, why have you put ice on her? That's another burn. So I'd just gone through this burn of fire, and then I went through freezer burn basically and made the burn worse. And then I just remember being rushed into this ambulance. I didn't know where I was at this point. I was really just so out of it. I was really just, I thought I was gonna die. And I thought that, I knew that my life would never be the same again. And I was really scared. I just remember being so scared. And I was just like alone. In a way, I was really sad because I felt like I let myself down and that I didn't do what I was there to do. I just felt so hopeless. Felt so hopeless and just felt so like, I can't believe this has happened. When the nurses wheeled me back to my room, the room had a mirror. And I took a glance in the mirror and I just burst into tears because that's when it finally hit me. And that's when I first saw what I looked like. I just wasn't, I didn't know, to this day I don't know who that person was. I really did leave the old me there. The me that was so caught up on what I looked like, what I was gonna be with my own life and who I wanted to be and how big I wanted to be or how successful I wanted to be or, you know, and I really left that all behind because it taught me that in my moment when I had nothing, money, looks, reputation, ego, it means nothing. I had such a different mindset that this is not the end of me. This is going to be the new me. And the new woman that I'm going to be is someone who lifts other men and women up to be the best version of themselves in a time when you're in such despair that you don't even recognize yourself and you're very confused as to who you want to be. Really be able to relate to me and knowing that through this dark time, I'm actually doing some good and actually going back to when I remembered if I died and not made it through or, you know, something terrible turned for the worst, had I left behind anything that was worth being proud of or changing someone's life? And that's what's really kept me going. The fact that now my life isn't revolved around Sophie Lee world. My life isn't revolved around looking the best, being the prettiest, or holding myself the best, or being the one in the room. It's not about that for me anymore. It's about just being a really good human being and being grateful for being here.